A wave of relief, or perhaps a storm of questions. Today, millions of seniors, disabled Americans, and struggling families are on edge after an announcement that could reshape financial security for the most vulnerable. Reports confirm that a new $2,000 stimulus has been approved, specifically targeting those who depend on Social Security, SSDI, and SSI. For many, this feels less like a political maneuver and more like a lifeline arriving in the middle of rising inflation, mounting rent, and grocery bills that never seem to stop climbing. But how did we get here? And what does this mean for those who have been waiting, month after month, for Washington to act? The story begins with years of pressure. Seniors across the country have been sounding the alarm. Social Security checks, while stable, simply have not kept pace with the cost of living. According to recent data, the average monthly Social Security retirement benefit hovers around $1,900, but the cost of even a modest apartment in many cities can reach $1,500 or more. Add in groceries, electricity, transportation, and prescription medications, and the math doesn't work. Disabled Americans on SSDI and those relying on SSI have faced even greater challenges, with some living on less than $1,400 per month. For many, that income has meant hard choices. Some report cutting their pills in half to stretch prescriptions. Others skip meals, living on peanut butter sandwiches so they can afford heating in the winter. Couples who worked all their lives now find themselves living on credit cards, simply waiting for the next Social Security deposit to clear. As pressure built, lawmakers faced mounting criticism. Advocacy groups for seniors staged rallies, sending tens of thousands of petitions demanding direct relief. Economists warn of a looming crisis of dignity among the elderly, citizens who had paid into the system their entire lives, now forced to choose between food and medicine. In closed-door meetings, the debate grew heated. Some argued that another round of direct payments would add to the federal deficit, worsen inflation, and place further strain on taxpayers. Critics insisted that temporary checks were no substitute for long-term reform of Social Security benefits. Others, however, countered that immediate relief was the only humane option, pointing to sharp increases in utility bills and record-breaking rent hikes. And then, the breakthrough. Word emerged that a $2,000 one-time stimulus payment would be made available to those on Social Security retirement, SSDI, and SSI. While details remain guarded, officials have hinted at a structured rollout. Payments expected to begin within the next several weeks, possibly deposited directly into the same accounts where beneficiaries currently receive their monthly checks. For many, that could mean seeing funds as soon as the next deposit cycle. Imagine what that means on the ground. A widow living on a fixed income in Florida could finally pay off 2 months of overdue electricity bills. A disabled veteran in Ohio could afford a long-delayed dental procedure. A retired couple in California might finally breathe easier, knowing they can cover both rent and groceries without sacrificing their medication. But not everyone is convinced. Some policy experts warn this could be a temporary bandage on a much deeper wound. They ask, what happens after the $2,000 is spent? Will seniors once again be left waiting for the next emergency measure, or will structural reforms finally take shape? Public reaction has been mixed. Supporters are calling it an overdue recognition of the struggles facing America's elderly and disabled. They say it's not charity, it's justice, a repayment of years of contributions and hard work. Critics, however, remain wary, accusing leaders of using the checks as political cover, a way to calm unrest while sidestepping the larger crisis of retirement insecurity. Yet for ordinary people, the debate feels distant. What matters is simple: relief is coming, at least for now. A retiree facing eviction may soon have the funds to stay in her home. A grandfather raising his grandchildren on Social Security may finally buy fresh fruit and meat instead of surviving on canned goods. For millions, it's the difference between survival and despair. Still, uncertainty lingers. Officials have not released a definitive timeline, and questions remain about eligibility. Will the payment go to all beneficiaries automatically? Will there be income thresholds? What about those who rely on paper checks rather than direct deposit? These unanswered details leave many cautious, waiting for clear confirmation. Even so, tonight there is a flicker of hope. In the face of soaring costs, political gridlock, and years of broken promises, seniors and the disabled now see signs that their voices have finally been heard. The $2,000 payment may not solve every problem. It will not erase the fear of another rent hike or guarantee lower prices at the pharmacy. But it represents something powerful: acknowledgement. Recognition that those who built this country deserve dignity in their later years. And perhaps, beyond the numbers, beyond the politics, that is what matters most. This stimulus is more than money, it's a message. A message that in the middle of financial storms, society has not forgotten its elders, its disabled, its most vulnerable. But there's another angle emerging, one that hasn't been part of the headlines but is quietly shaping the conversation: the generational divide. Younger taxpayers, many burdened with student debt and rising housing costs, are asking whether these repeated emergency payments for seniors could delay broader reforms. They question why Washington always seems to act in moments of crisis rather than building a stable system that works for everyone. On the other hand, seniors argue that they've already paid their dues. They spent decades paying into Social Security, often at higher tax rates than today, and now simply want the security they were promised. This clash of perspectives highlights a deeper national debate: is America prepared to prioritize the dignity of its elders, even at the cost of higher deficits, or will the political winds shift toward younger voters demanding fairness for their generation? Economists warn that both groups are right to worry. Without real reform, the Social Security Trust Fund faces serious questions about long-term solvency. And so the $2,000 payment isn't just about relief, it's a mirror reflecting the larger struggle. It shows how a nation treats its most vulnerable, but also how it balances the needs of different generations. Whether this sparks a lasting movement toward real reform or fades as another temporary fix remains to be seen. The question now is what comes next. Will this be remembered as a one-time gesture, soon forgotten? Or will it mark the beginning of a new commitment to secure the futures of those who depend on these programs? For seniors, families, and millions of Americans living on the edge, the stakes could not be higher. One thing is certain: the checks, once they arrive, will carry more than just dollars. They will carry relief, dignity, and for many, a reminder that their struggles have finally been seen. And as the debate continues, one truth remains: this story is far from over.